The vast darkness of space stretched endlessly, punctuated by distant starlight. Jae-Wong Park sat in the command module of the exploratory vessel Horizon, his fingers dancing across holographic control panels. Around him, the ship's interior hummed with quiet electronic life, a testament to human engineering. For weeks, they had been mapping unexplored sectors of the Orion Arm, scanning for potential resource-rich planetary systems. The crew of 12 was a mix of scientists, engineers, and navigation specialists, each carefully selected for their expertise and psychological stability during long-duration missions. Suddenly, the primary scanning array flickered. Jae-Wong leaned forward, his eyes narrowing. Something was different. The quantum sensors were picking up an unusual energy signature, massive, complex, and definitively non-natural. "Chen, run a spectral analysis," he called to his senior science officer. Before Chen could respond, a massive shadow eclipsed their viewscreen. A ship, if it could be called a ship, materialized. It was unlike anything humans had ever encountered. Geometric yet organic, it seemed to pulse with an internal energy that defied conventional physics. Communication signals erupted across their systems. Not radio waves, not traditional electromagnetic transmissions, but something more sophisticated. Complex mathematical patterns that suggested an intelligence far beyond human comprehension. The Valerian Collective had arrived. A holographic representation materialized in the command center. Crystalline in appearance, with multiple translucent appendages and what seemed like hundreds of interconnected sensory nodes, the entity spoke directly into their minds. "Humans of Earth vessel. Your technological state is primitive. Your resource management is inefficient. Surrender is recommended." Jae-Wong remained calm. Years of training had prepared him for potential first contact scenarios, but nothing could truly prepare someone for this moment. He understood instantly that this was no diplomatic meeting. This was an assessment. A judgment. The Valerian continued, its communication a blend of mathematical precision and cold calculation. "Your planetary resources are required. Your technological infrastructure will be assimilated. Resistance is statistically improbable." Behind Jae-Wong, the crew remained silent. Some monitored systems, others watched the alien representation with a mixture of fear and fascination. Each understood the historical significance of this moment. Jae-Wong knew their response would determine humanity's fate. One wrong move, one misinterpreted signal could trigger immediate conflict. "We represent Earth," he responded, choosing each word carefully. "We seek understanding, not conflict." The Valerian's response was immediate and chilling. A holographic projection appeared, showing Earth, detailed, precise. Potential invasion vectors, resource extraction points, and population centers were highlighted with clinical detachment. "Understanding is irrelevant," the entity stated. "Acquisition is necessary." In that moment, Jae-Wong realized this was more than a first contact scenario. This was an ultimatum. A challenge to humanity's very existence. The ship's quantum communication array began recording every millisecond of the interaction. Whatever happened next would be documented, analyzed, potentially humanity's final message to itself. Outside the ship's protective hull, the massive Valerian vessel continued to hover. Its presence was both a threat and a statement, a technological marvel that made human engineering look like primitive stone tools. Jae-Won's mind raced. Military protocols, scientific observations, diplomatic training all converged in this singular moment. He understood that humanity's response would define its future. The crew waited. The Valerian waited. Space itself seemed to hold its breath. First contact had become first confrontation. Hyun-Ki Kim stood in the underground research facility, surrounded by holographic displays and humming quantum computers. Her workspace looked like a controlled chaos of wires, screens, and advanced technology. Outside, the world knew nothing of the impending alien threat that Jae-Won's mission had discovered. The communication intercepts from the Horizon's first contact were unlike anything she had ever seen. Mathematical patterns that seemed to dance between communication and computation, hiding layers of complexity that would challenge even the most advanced human systems. She understood immediately that conventional defense strategies would fail. The Valerian technology was exponentially more advanced than human systems. Direct confrontation would be suicide. "We need to think differently," she muttered, her fingers moving across multiple holographic interfaces. Her team of 12 specialized researchers watched her, waiting. Each was an expert in quantum computing, neural network design, and adaptive algorithmic warfare. They knew the stakes were humanity's survival. Hyunki's breakthrough came from an unexpected direction. By analyzing the communication patterns, she discovered subtle rhythmic inconsistencies in the Valerian data transmission. These weren't just messages, they were complex computational networks that maintained their collective intelligence. "If we can introduce strategic disruptions," she explained to her team, "we might create internal communication chaos within their collective system." She began designing a series of quantum encrypted algorithms. These weren't traditional viruses or hacking tools. They were sophisticated mathematical constructs designed to introduce microscopic uncertainties into the Valerian network. Her first prototype looked deceptively simple. A series of recursive mathematical sequences that would subtly alter transmission integrity. Each sequence was like a precision-crafted surgical tool, designed to create controlled instability. Days turned into weeks. The team worked in shifts, testing, refining, simulating potential scenarios. Their computers ran millions of potential interaction models every second. The primary goal wasn't destruction. It was disruption. Create enough internal confusion to make the Valerian collective question its own computational integrity. During a critical test, one of their early prototypes managed to create a 3-second communication lag in a simulated alien network. It was a microscopic victory, but it proved their concept was possible. "We're not fighting with weapons," Hyunki told her team. "We're fighting with mathematics and information theory." Her most brilliant innovation was an adaptive algorithm that could modify itself based on the Valerian network's response. Like a living organism, it would learn, adjust, and evolve in real time. The military and government officials who occasionally visited her facility looked skeptical. Traditional warfare experts couldn't comprehend how mathematical sequences could potentially defend against an advanced alien civilization. But Hyunki knew something they didn't. Complexity always contained vulnerability. No matter how advanced a system was, introducing strategic uncertainty could create cascading failures. Her team worked around the clock. Coffee machines were always full, energy drinks lined the workstations, and the air was thick with concentrated determination. Each algorithm was a potential weapon. Each mathematical sequence a defensive strategy. When the final prototype was complete, it looked deceptively elegant. A compact quantum encrypted package that could potentially introduce controlled chaos into the most advanced communication network humanity had ever encountered. "Ready for the first full-scale simulation," she announced. The room went silent. Screens flickered. Quantum computers hummed with anticipation. Humanity's unexpected resistance was about to be tested. Sujin Lee stood in the communication center, her eyes fixed on the complex holographic displays showing intercepted Valerian transmissions. She was not a typical diplomat. Her background in cognitive psychology, xenolinguistics, and behavioral analysis made her uniquely suited for this unprecedented challenge. The Valerian collective communicated through intricate mathematical patterns, but Sujin saw something deeper. Beneath the seemingly logical transmissions, she detected subtle emotional undertones, patterns of uncertainty, hierarchical tensions, and collective decision-making processes. Her team consisted of linguists, psychologists, and communication specialists. They worked silently, analyzing every minute detail of the alien communication network. Each transmission was a puzzle, each mathematical sequence a potential psychological leverage point. "They think we're predictable," Sujin murmured. "But predictability is our greatest weapon." She began developing a series of communication strategies designed to introduce psychological complexity into the Valerian network. These weren't traditional messages, but carefully constructed information packages that would trigger specific cognitive responses. Her first approach targeted the collective's decision-making structure. By introducing subtle contradictions and unexpected behavioral patterns, she hoped to create internal doubt and hesitation. The team created intricate communication sequences that mimicked human emotional responses, but not in any straightforward way. These were mathematical representations of uncertainty, curiosity, and unpredictability. One breakthrough came when they discovered that the Valerian collective processed information through a collective consciousness. Individual units were connected, but not uniformly. There were hierarchical structures, communication bottlenecks, and potential points of cognitive friction. Sujin designed information packets that would exploit these vulnerabilities. Each transmission was a carefully crafted psychological weapon, designed to introduce microscopic uncertainties into their collective thought process. Her strategy wasn't about direct confrontation. It was about creating confusion, introducing doubt, and making the Valerian collective question its own decision-making capabilities. The military strategists who observed her work were initially skeptical. How could mathematical sequences and carefully constructed information patterns potentially defend against an advanced alien civilization? But Sujin understood something fundamental about intelligence, whether human or alien. Complex systems always contain psychological vulnerabilities. The key was finding and exploiting them strategically. Days turned into weeks. The communication center became a hub of intense concentration. Screens displayed complex mathematical patterns, linguistic analysis, and behavioral prediction models. Her team worked in shifts, constantly refining their approach. Each transmission was a calculated risk, each information package a potential psychological disruption. The Valerian collective began showing subtle signs of internal confusion. Communication patterns became slightly less synchronized. Decision-making processes showed microscopic delays. "We're creating cognitive friction," Sujin explained to her team. "Not by force, but by introducing strategic uncertainty." Her most brilliant strategy involved creating information sequences that mimicked complex human emotional responses. These weren't simple messages, but sophisticated mathematical representations of human unpredictability. The Valerian collective had approached humanity assuming complete technological superiority. They didn't understand the human capacity for adaptive, nonlinear thinking. Sujin was changing that perception, one carefully constructed transmission at a time. As the psychological warfare continued, the alien collective's communication network began showing signs of internal stress. Transmission patterns became slightly erratic, decision-making processes showed unexpected variations. Humanity's most powerful weapon wasn't technology. It was the ability to think beyond predictable patterns, to introduce uncertainty where logic was expected. Sujin watched the holographic displays, a slight smile forming on her lips. The real battle wasn't happening with weapons or traditional warfare. It was happening in the complex realm of information, perception, and psychological complexity. And humanity was just getting started. Jae-Hwang and Hyun-Ki worked side by side in the cramped research laboratory, surrounded by holographic displays and experimental quantum equipment. The walls were covered with complex diagrams, mathematical equations, and energy signature models that looked like abstract art to anyone not understanding their significance. Their goal was ambitious: design a weapon that could exploit the Valerian technology's most fundamental weakness. Traditional human weapons would be useless against such an advanced civilization. They needed something different, something revolutionary. The breakthrough came from an unexpected observation. During their analysis of Valerian communication patterns, Hyun-Ki noticed something unusual about their quantum resonance frequencies. Each alien technological system vibrated at a specific molecular frequency, creating a unique energy signature. "What if we could reverse engineer that frequency?" she asked Jae-Won. Days turned into weeks of continuous research. They collected every possible data point from the initial encounter, analyzing microscopic details that most researchers would have overlooked. Their team worked in shifts, running millions of computational simulations every hour. Jae-Won's engineering background combined perfectly with Hyun-Ki's quantum computing expertise. Where traditional scientists saw impossible challenges, they saw opportunities for innovation. Their first prototype was nothing more than a small device no larger than a standard smartphone. But this device contained a complex quantum algorithm capable of generating precise energy waves that could potentially disrupt alien molecular structures. Initial tests were promising. In controlled environments, they managed to create microscopic disruptions in synthetic materials designed to mimic Valerian technology. Each successful test increased their confidence. The military research teams were initially skeptical. How could such a small device potentially challenge an advanced alien civilization? But Jae Hwang and Hyun Ki understood something fundamental about technological innovation. Sometimes the most powerful solutions are the most unexpected. Their weapon wasn't about destruction. It was about precise, strategic disruption. By generating specific quantum frequencies, they could potentially create cascading failures within the Valerian technological infrastructure. The breakthrough came during a late-night simulation. Their algorithm managed to generate a frequency wave that could theoretically destabilize complex molecular bonds in advanced technological systems. It was like finding a universal key that could unlock any technological lock. "We're not just creating a weapon," Jae Hwang explained to his team. "We're creating a technological translation device that speaks the language of quantum mechanics." Each iteration of their prototype became more sophisticated. They integrated advanced cooling systems, quantum stabilization modules, and adaptive frequency generators. The device looked simple from the outside but contained complex technological innovations that pushed the boundaries of human understanding. Hyun Ki's quantum computing background allowed them to create an adaptive algorithm. The weapon could modify its frequency in real time, responding to changes in the Valerian technological network. It was like a living, breathing technological organism. Government and military officials began taking serious notice. What had started as a theoretical research project was now a potential salvation for human civilization. The final prototype was elegant in its simplicity. A small, handheld device that could potentially disable an entire alien technological network. Its power wasn't in brute force, but in precise, strategic intervention. During final testing, they discovered something extraordinary. The device could not just disrupt alien technology, it could potentially communicate with it on a fundamental quantum level. It was more than a weapon. It was a bridge between two completely different technological civilizations. "We're not just defending," Jae Hwang told Hyun Ki during their final preparation. "We're establishing a new form of technological communication." As they prepared for potential deployment, the weight of their responsibility was clear. This wasn't just a technological breakthrough. This was humanity's response to an existential threat. The Valerian Collective might have superior technology, but they had not encountered human creativity, adaptability, and innovative spirit. The technological battlefield was about to change forever. The final confrontation began without traditional fanfare. No massive explosions, no dramatic space battles, just a precise, calculated technological intervention that would define humanity's future. Jae Hwang's team aboard the Horizon initiated the quantum frequency weapon developed by Hyun Ki. The device looked deceptively simple, a small module no larger than a standard communication device. But its potential was revolutionary. As the Valerian mothership approached Earth's orbital zone, their massive technological network suddenly experienced microscopic disruptions. Communication channels began to fragment. Complex quantum networks started showing unexpected instabilities. Sujin's psychological warfare strategies had already introduced critical uncertainties into the Valerian Collective's decision-making processes. Her mathematical communication sequences had created internal doubts and hesitations. The quantum weapon began its work silently. Precise frequency waves targeted the fundamental molecular structures of Valerian technology. Where traditional weapons would have failed, this innovative approach created cascading systematic failures. Valerian communication networks started experiencing unexplained interruptions. Their collective consciousness, which had seemed invincible, now showed unexpected vulnerabilities. Each transmission became increasingly fragmented, less coordinated. Military commanders watched in stunned silence. The alien vessel, which had initially appeared invincible, now looked like a complex machine experiencing systematic shutdown. No explosions, no dramatic destruction, just a gradual, precise technological collapse. Hyun-ki monitored the weapon's performance from the ground control center. Her team had designed an adaptive algorithm that could modify its approach in real time. The quantum device wasn't just attacking, it was learning, adjusting, responding to the Valerian technological ecosystem. The alien collective's initial confidence began transforming into confusion. Their advanced technological systems, which had conquered countless civilizations, were being systematically neutralized by something they couldn't comprehend. Jae-won's voice remained calm during the entire operation. "We're not destroying," he explained to his team. "We're demonstrating a different approach to technological interaction." Earth's defensive systems remained on standby, but they weren't needed. Humanity's victory wasn't coming through traditional warfare, but through innovative problem-solving and technological creativity. The Valerian mothership began losing structural integrity. Not through violent destruction, but through precise, calculated technological intervention. Their quantum networks were being systematically dismantled from within. Within hours, what had seemed like an inevitable invasion turned into a remarkable demonstration of human potential. The alien collective's technological superiority crumbled against human adaptability and innovative thinking. Sujin's psychological strategies had created internal doubts. Hyun-ki's quantum weapon had neutralized their technological infrastructure. Jae-won's leadership had coordinated these complex interventions. The final moments of the confrontation were almost anticlimactic. The massive Valerian vessel, which had initially appeared invincible, now drifted powerlessly. Its complex technological systems had been precisely and systematically disabled. Communication intercepts revealed growing confusion within the Valerian collective. They were experiencing something unprecedented. A technological defeat they couldn't comprehend or predict. As the alien vessel became inert, humanity watched in collective amazement. This wasn't a victory through superior firepower, but through intelligence, creativity, and an unprecedented approach to technological problem-solving. The Valerian collective had made a fundamental mistake. They had underestimated humanity's capacity for innovative thinking, adaptive strategies, and collaborative problem-solving. In the days following the confrontation, scientific teams would spend months analyzing the incredible technological breakthrough. How had a small team managed to neutralize an allegedly invincible alien technological network? The answer was simple yet profound: human creativity, combined with collaborative innovation, represented a force more powerful than any technological superiority. Humanity had not just survived. They had redefined the potential of technological interaction. The stars seemed to shine a little brighter that night, witnessing a victory that would be remembered for generations.